As a kid watching an episode like Night Terrors, what you're getting is a really great, more spooky Scooby Doo story, which is true to core Scooby Doo, but it's also a bit spooky. But then, if you're more in the know, or if you're a fan of, say, someone like Stephen King, you see so many different homages and references, and like well, being a lifelong fan of Stephen King. I mean, my mum used to read me Stephen King when I was a kid. I don't know if that's something I want to freely admit, but that was the type
Yeah.
of upbringing that I was kind of on. So,
Don't get your mom in trouble. They're
yeah,
like, wait, what? Child abuse. You know, it's like
I mean, it was the pop-up book to be fair, but it was a scary one. But that was the kind of wavelength that I was on. So when we got to that episode, my mind was completely blown. Do you remember if it was an intentional choice to kind of make that a massive Stephen King homage, or like how did that
Oh
idea evolve
yeah,
into what we
100%.
saw?
Yeah, it was classic. I think yeah, it was one of my favorite episodes to write as well. And I think that yeah, it was we knew going into it it was going to be Stephen King. And that was actually one of my favorite Stephen King books was The Shining. And I loved the book more than the movie. And I never admitted that to people until it turns out that Stephen King didn't like the movie as much as he liked the book, obviously. But I love that book. And I did read a lot of Stephen King, but I think Salem's Lot and The Shining were kind of my favorites, and The Shining especially, I was just blown away by it. And I think that definitely it had a huge influence on us. And Mitch Watson and I were always talking about things like that that influenced us. And we were all obsessed with Lovecraft. Because as a kid, I was obsessed with Lovecraft too, and then we all were. And so it was like, in a weird way, between Mitch Watson, myself, and Tony Savoni, the three of us had these obsessions, the same obsessions as kids, between Lovecraft and Stephen King and kind of like and Poe. I'm a huge Poe addict, and I think that like these things kind of influenced our kind of macabre storytelling. And then for the thing I love about Mystery Incorporated and Night Terrors, most of all, is that in a weird way, we got to take the gloves off. And when I was writing, I get to push it a little bit, And then another thing, one of my favorite things about that, if my brain is remembering correctly, is that I got to come up with all those different versions of four kids and an animal. And that was in a weird way an homage to it was a double homage. We wanted there was this has happened before, and we wanted to kind of really establish this has been going on for a long time. And if you guys don't remember the Hanna-Barbera history, is that Scooby Doo and the four kids and an animal thing was such a hit for them that they tried it like 7 different times. There must have been like 15 different versions of four kids, and Speed Buggy was one of them, right? Like three kids and a dune
Yeah,
buggy,
like
the talking
Goober and
dune
the
buggy.
Ghost
Like,
Chasers, stuff like
yeah,
that.
exactly. Yeah, there were like a bunch of those, and I think that was part of the joy of doing that moment in that story was like also to sort of call back even to Hanna-Barbera. It's like there's been so many versions of four kids and an animal, that we had to sort of build that into it. But yeah, the shiny references when we got to do um the bathtub scene, I was just like, it was heaven. I mean, that was just like you just can't you just those are the moments you live for. I mean, I've never had a bad day at work, but there's some days that are just better than others, and that was that episode and that the room scene, it's just one of my favorites.
Definitely
All
the
the shiny
more
references.